think Trump is a fucking threat to American democracy and is a fucking die-in-the-wool fascist, or you just lied about it for years. I personally think he is, okay? I think he does spell great trouble for American democracy and the future of America in general, and he is a fucking straightforward, ultra-nationalist fascist at this point, okay? Doesn't matter if he's like personally invested in some ideological variant of Nazi ideology. What matters is his output. What matters is what he's doing, okay? Let's do the fucking cases being dropped real quick. We'll do some lib watch here. But all the Trump cases are getting thrown out because he's the God King now. But before we do that, here's Dan Bongino with a self-own.
Why does everybody want to fight me all the time? Do I have a punchable face or something?
On the air with breaking news about President-elect Donald Trump. The Justice Department Special Counsel Jack Smith just filed a motion to dismiss the federal criminal case against the president-elect over his efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. The news comes after NBC News learned the Justice Department had been planning to wind down its federal cases against Mr. Trump. It also comes as NBC News learned that
Lamont Drake apparently donated to the ACP. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. No, he didn't. But Drake is also not a good time to recognize or admit this, but he has been one of the most prominent artists out there that has actually openly been pro-Palestine early on.
Smith and his team plan to resign
ultra rare Drake W.
before Mr. Trump returns to the White House. We want to go straight to our justice and intelligence correspondent, Ken Delaney. And Ken, fill us in here.
Lester, Special Counsel Jack Smith and his team have filed a sparse but historic document here asking Judge Tanya Chutkan to dismiss this case. And the grounds they gave is essentially that the Justice Department has always held, historically, that a sitting president can't be prosecuted or indicted, and that principle applies here. Let me just read a little bit from what.
Now they won't even let Trump fire them. They're surrendering, and Trump takes a victory lap without suffering a bad news cycle. Yeah. And also, it literally confirms everything Trump has been saying. Like, there has never been a better moment to be a Trump supporter than this moment. Every single thing that he said about, like, these loser, cowardly Dems are coming after me, doing lawfare, you're basically admitting you don't have any interest in preserving the institutions or the rule of law if you're going to be like, well, I guess we can't do anything because you're the president now. That's it. Complete, utter, humiliating defeat for all of these institution defenders, these lovers of institutions. Once again, the damage that this will do, the damage that this will personally do, if the Democrats actually did care about preserving the integrity of these institutions, the damage that this act does to the validity and the legitimacy of those institutions are insurmountable. It's completely just throw it away. It's like Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski going down the Mar-a-Lago to kiss Trump's ring after 8 years of calling him a fucking fascist. Then you didn't believe it at all. You didn't believe that he was a fascist at all. You were just lying. It's like when Democrats turn around and say, like, yeah, you know what? Immigrants are actually bad. We got to do the border ourselves. After calling Republicans racist for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Okay, I guess you admit it then. You're just a liar. You don't give a shit. You know? In light of this, what are your opinions on leftists voting third party this year and letting this guy do this damage? I understand why some leftists, but this is a bad precedent for Trump to set. If you think this is the fault of like random people who voted third party, who Kamala Harris lost by such wide margins that like their votes were inconsequential regardless, you are stupid, okay? There is no better way to put it. You are watching Democrats in key positions right now taking a knee and genuflecting to this fucking fascist piece of shit. And you're still like, you know who's at fault here? Random third-party voters, actually, who, if they all voted for the Democrats, would have still not allowed the Democratic Party to fucking win. Okay? What the fuck? You cannot outflank the Democratic Party. You cannot make the assertion that these people are automatically in the tank for the Democratic Party, but are silly and selfish, and that's why they're not voting for the Democrats. This is an idiotic way to campaign. Okay? That's not how this works. And what's happening right now is far, far, far more consequential. People need to cut this shit out, okay? Stop. Do you work for the DNC? Do you have pay stubs to show for it? Why are you defending their inadequacy for free on an independent outlet such as myself? Okay? You're coming to a community of leftists to be like, I am going to defend the $700,000 salary winning idiotic analysts and campaign staffers that literally fucking openly consulted the Democratic Party to lose. I'm going to defend them and their integrity. It's like these guys are getting paid six figures. They melted $1 billion. They were $30 million in debt by the end of this fucking campaign, and they lost. It's so dumb. Stop playing. Stop being a mark, okay? Please, I beg of you. Stop being a sucker. Stop being a sucker for those who are in positions of power within the Democratic Party. You are literally doing their bidding. You are refusing to recognize the truth, and you are allowing the Democrats to continue building this narrative that it was actually some random leftist that caused the Democrats to lose again. These people are defending the DNC when Trump has not even gotten into power because they are worried of any transformation of the Democratic Party or growing efforts to leave the party as a whole. I really want to see what Bernie and his organizations are going to do soon. They're planning something. We'll see.
What they wrote. They said that the department and the country have never faced the circumstance here where a federal indictment against a private citizen has been returned by a grand jury and a criminal prosecution is already underway when the defendant is elected president. Confronted with this unprecedented situation, the special counsel's office consulted with the department's Office of Legal Counsel. That's the group inside the DOJ that decides constitutional legal positions. And then they said that after careful consideration, the Justice Department has determined that the OLC's prior opinions concerning the Constitution's prohibition on federal indictment and prosecution of a sitting president apply to this situation, Lester. So, look, this indictment, this involves the three conspiracies Donald Trump is accused of in an effort to cling to power after the 2020 election. And it marked an extraordinary moment in American history. This is the first ever accusation that a sitting president committed crimes in an effort to cling to power. The dismissal also marks an extraordinary moment. 50 years after Richard Nixon was forced by lawmakers from both parties to resign the presidency amid allegations of criminal conduct, half of American voters discounted equally serious charges of criminal misconduct in office against Donald Trump. They returned Mr. Trump to the presidency. And if the lesson of Watergate was that no one was above the law, the lesson of the Trump era is that a majority of Americans have decided that this principle no longer applies. And what I can tell you, Lester, is that we also expect a filing in the other case, which has been dismissed by the judge, that classified documents case against Mr. Trump, which is on appeal. We expect a filing there, although it's not clear exactly what that filing will say because there are two other defendants in that case. And Jack Smith, the special counsel, is required to file a report to the Attorney General before he leaves office explaining his prosecution decisions.
Wouldn't it be wrong to try and jail and pull to court an upcoming president, though, because it internally weakens the country. Some things are more important than partisan fighting. Brother, you either think Trump is a fucking threat to American democracy and is a fucking die-in-the-wool fascist, or you just lied about it for years. I personally think he is, okay? I think he does spell great trouble for American democracy and the future of America in general. And he is a fucking straightforward, ultra-nationalist fascist at this point, okay? Doesn't matter if he's like personally invested in some ideological variant of Nazi ideology. What matters is his output. What matters is what he's doing, okay? He violated the rules regardless. Why the fuck would you cast that aside? Excuse me, we need to make sure that Germany is united. And that's precisely the reason why we should offer Hitler the chancellor position, because ultimately, you know, it's better to have a united Germany. Yeah, see how well that worked. He might be, but he's still the leader. Weakening him weakens the country. Yes, dude, you're a fucking dumbass, okay? Weakening him weakens the country. We need to Sig Heil alongside Donald Trump. Liberals and their endless defense of the status quo is precisely the reason why they will always show their bellies, okay? They will always allow fascism to thrive, okay? That's it. It's the same principle, never question power, and also it's the same like vague gesture towards like bipartisanship. You know what I mean? You don't understand. We must obey. We must obey. No matter how fucking far he goes, we have to obey. Okay? Because God forbid America gets weakened. I mean, what are you talking about? Yeah. Good luck. Good luck to you, charitable chinchilla, as Donald Trump sets up utilizing the military to mass deport 20 million people. This is part of the reason why I'm telling you, I have said time and time again that things are different this time around. Things are different.
Nobody.
What is this? Oh. Things are different this time around because liberals are not even doing the fucking 2016 hashtag resistance shit. Yeah, no, it's the clip that, what's his face? HasanAbi Productions posted. The one where he spliced Ethan talking about how much of a radical terrorism supporter I am. Well, it spliced up with me playing the Korean goon dating sim.
With his fucking straight up radical, anti-American, anti-Semitic, fucking pro-China.
Unaware, narcissistic fascist, he probably doesn't understand why he can't dictate everything. Inner GOP faithfuls will try to treat him like a useful idiot to tear down the normal institutions, keep the party entrenched in power.
And Merrick Garland has a policy of making those reports public. So we can expect to see a public report, Lester. But in this case, we don't expect it to go much beyond the volume of material that is already in the public record about both of these criminal cases.
All right, Ken Delaney, and thank you. Let me bring in our senior legal correspondent, Laura Jarrett. Laura, what is the chance, putting politics aside, what's the chance of a resuming the case 4 years from now?
Very little. You and I both noted as the filing was coming in that it said without prejudice, which means theoretically they could bring it again, but it seems highly unlikely, Lester, even notwithstanding statute of limitations issues, all of the effort and resources that were put into this, they never really got off the ground. They didn't get anywhere close to a jury trial, much less the conclusion and sentencing. They just never got there. But between the delays with the Supreme Court decision on immunity and Trump's own efforts to try to get the case blocked, I think the real question now is just whether we even see a final report from Smith's office laying out sort of what evidence he would have adduced at trial. He was also required to explain in that report why he didn't bring any charges. If there were anything that he held back, he's supposed to explain.
He had
that.
already developed a roadmap to get around the Supreme Court ruling on immunity.
He had tried, and they did a superseding indictment, so essentially rewriting the indictment to be more in line with that, kept out some of the evidence that the Supreme Court said was off limits. But even still, he was at the beginning stages of that. Trump was likely to appeal even that new indictment. And so it just really never got off the ground. So the facts didn't change. The evidence didn't change. The only thing to change is his status.
Thanks for watching. Stay up.
To politics now, in the new Trump cabinet ready for confirmation. The president-elect announced a series of top administration picks just over the weekend, including hedge fund manager Scott Bessent to be Treasury Secretary and Congresswoman Lori Chavez-DeRemer as Labor Secretary. Trump needed less than 3 weeks to pick his cabinet, but some of his more controversial picks may have trouble getting approved by the Senate. Nicole Killian is in West Palm Beach for us, covering the transition as she has been for days now. Nicole, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Tony. Now that President-elect Trump has made most of his key picks, there are new calls for them to get FBI background checks. But overall, the public is giving him positive marks.
As President-elect Donald Trump put the finishing touches on his cabinet choices this weekend, a new CBS News poll finds 59% of Americans approve of how he's handling the transition.
We're going to have hearings early so we can get his team in place when he takes the oath of office on January 20th.
The poll also shows many of Trump's designees have more support than opposition. That includes some of his more controversial picks, like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for Health and Human Services, Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence.
There's a major disconnect with reality in this country. I can't. Everything is bad and only slated to get worse. Do you understand? Like, everything is bad and it's only going to get worse. And there is... I feel like there are not enough people that are actively speaking out against how insane things are getting. And only until people are staring down the actual ever-present danger of Trump's fascist, white nativist, anti-immigrant policies and how devastating that is for the lives of millions of Americans, will they turn around and go, oh man, we fucked up. And at that point, it'll be far too late. Okay?
And Pete Hegseth for defense, although some voters say they still haven't heard enough.
I'm a yes on Pete Hegseth. I'm a yes on Tulsi Gabbard.
While some GOP senators say they'll vote for the picks, Democrats like Illinois' Tammy Duckworth raise concerns about a sexual assault allegation against Hegseth, which he has denied, and his comments that women shouldn't serve in combat.
He's just flat out wrong. Our military could not go to war without the women who wear this uniform.
She also called Gabbard, who at times has been seen as sympathetic to Russia and Syria, compromised.
She is a true patriot of the United States, and there's no reason why the Democrats are going after her other than the fact they're upset that she left their woke party.
Some lawmakers insist nominees must go through FBI background checks, but the Trump transition has not signed an agreement with the agency to start the vetting process.
If they keep delaying on these background checks, we will have a delay in getting these cabinet officials in.
I don't think the American public cares who does the background checks. What the American public cares about is to see the mandate that they voted in delivered upon.
The Trump transition also hasn't signed an agreement with the White House to get access to office space or help with expenses. A transition spokesperson tells CBS News they continue to constructively engage with the Biden administration.
Okay, Nicole, thank you very much.
We turn now to the latest on President-elect Trump. His team is taking shape as he announces more of his choices for top posts in his new administration. Our senior national correspondent, Terry Moran, is tracking it all. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, Rebecca. President-elect Trump continues to move at speed to fill out his cabinet for a second term, and this could be the most ideologically diverse cabinet in recent history. A team of Trump loyalists from across the political spectrum. Over the weekend, Trump making some more big nominations. For Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. He is a hedge fund manager and former Democratic Party donor who now advocates for big cuts to the federal budget and much more oil production in the U.S. And for the powerful position of Director of the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, Russell Vought. He held that post in the first Trump administration, and he is also the lead author, one of the lead authors of Project 2025. That's that controversial blueprint for a second Trump administration that Trump distanced himself from during the campaign, but has now put one of the top architects at the very center of power. And for Labor Secretary, Republican Congresswoman from Oregon, Lori Chavez DeRaymer. She is, surprisingly for Republican, very pro-union. Rebecca?
Yeah, you said it, Terry. Very ideologically diverse. And there are also more controversial nominees in the public health posts.
No question about it, Rebecca. There's a real theme here. Trump has named former Florida Congressman Dave Weldon, who is a real vaccine skeptic, to run the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Marty McCary, a surgeon who is a harsh critic of the vaccine mandates during the COVID pandemic. He has been named to run the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, and Dr. Jeanette Neshwat. She's a family doctor and frequent Fox News commentator to be the next Surgeon General of the United States. Rebecca?
All right, Terry. Thank you.